All right, I want to explain to you the National Herald scam, the so-called National Herald scam. Now, at the center of this is a private limited company called the Associated Journals. They publish, among others, the National Herald newspaper, which used to be a mouthpiece of the Congress party. Now, AJL had taken back in 2010 a loan of 90 crores from the Congress party. Whether a political party can lend a loan, that in itself is a question. Now, what happens later on? The very next year, there is this other company called Young Indian. It's a Chapter 25 company, which means it's a not-for-profit company. Both Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi own 38% stake in this company. So together, they own more than 76%, more than three-quarters of the shares of Young India. Now, the Congress, the debt that was assigned as far as AJL is concerned, the debt of AJL, which it owed to the Congress party, that debt got assigned to Young India. In fact, that entire debt got transferred basically from one entity to another, from Congress to Young India. Young India, remember, has 4 directors, 2 of them Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi. Now, interestingly, Young India pays 50 lakh rupees and takes over the Associated Journal. This is a company that reportedly owes 90 crores to the Congress party. It has assets running into hundreds of crores, huge buildings, huge property, including here in the national capital. The question that's being asked by the Enforcement Directorate and the political question being asked by the BJP is, how did a company that owed 90 crores get bought by another company for just 50 lakhs? What happens to the remaining 89.5 crores? The Congress party's contention is none of this money physically actually changed hands. This was just on paper. So if money hasn't physically changed hands, then where is the question of money laundering? Joining us on the talking point this evening, GVL Narasimha Rao is BJP Member of Parliament and spokesperson. Rohan Gupta is a spokesperson of the Congress Party. Priyanka Kakkar is spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. Rashid Kidwai, author and journalist who tracks the Congress Party very closely. Abhishek Banerjee, columnist, and Ashutosh Srivastava, Supreme Court lawyer, joining us. Rohan, I'll start with you first. It's a very simple question. A private limited company that owes the Congress party 90 crore rupees is bought over for 50 lakh rupees by a Chapter 25 not-for-profit company in which Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi are the majority shareholders. How is that even possible?
If you go back to, I think if you have heard the press today by Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi ji and our spokesperson, National Herald was a newspaper which was published in 1937, right? And after that, it was in 1942 again, the Britishers also tried to stop it, and in 1945 they had to start. If you see this company, as you have rightly told, that 90 crore rupees, which was in 10 years' time, in 100 installments, the party has given to National Herald. And the Young India, which is a not-for-profit company, if that is sold to that, I don't think there is any issue. Another important thing, Jata, let me tell you, this company, where there is no money which is changing hands, how can it be under money laundering? Nobody understands. As Chindambaramji has rightly put, this is like, catching somebody swimming in the swimming pool without water. The issue here is, Raza, I will give you 10 examples of the cases which are fit for money laundering. But the ED's area is not for all the money laundering cases. Only the opposition leaders' harassment cases are taken by ED. I will give you an example of Yedurappa, 6,000 crore scandal, no ED inquiry. I will give you Narayan Rane's case. There is no inquiry.
Rohan, all of those are valid. Inquiry. But so can you answer?
Let me complete,
sir. Can you please? No, because I asked a very simple question to you. You've not given me an answer to that. I reiterate the question. Sir, please listen to me. Sir, please. Very humbly. Sir, please give me 30 seconds. Please listen to my question. Please listen to my question. Just give me 30 seconds. You've taken 3.5 minutes. You've not answered my question. Therefore, I am please humbly requesting you, Rohan Gupta ji, with folded hands, listen to me for 30 seconds. Rohan,
whenever you call people for debate, you should allow them to complete.
How long will you take? Will you take 36 minutes to explain the point?
I will take 30 seconds to complete my thing.
No, okay, finish. Okay, finish. I'll give you 1 whole minute, Rohan. Please answer my question. I hope you remember the question I asked.
I am answering your question. Where money has not changed hands, there is a question of money laundering. Okay. Where the money has changed hands, you tell me, na?
Now can I reiterate the question I asked you? 1 second. Rohan, please have some patience.
One question
I am reiterating a very simple question that I asked you. Congress party has owed AJL, a private limited company, 90 crore rupees, has lent 90 crore rupees. AJL gets acquired for a mere 50 lakh rupees by another company. How is that possible? It's a simple question, Rohan. I don't know why you're going on and on.
See, no, I am going on because you are not listening to me.
Because you are not giving the answer to the question I'm asking you. It can't be that hard.
Don't shout on me. Please don't shout on me. Please don't shout on me. If you want to call me on debate, you have to behave yourself.
Will you please calm down?
I am not going to come to a debate if you are going to try to shout on me.
Mr. Gupta,
you have to listen to me. No, I am not going to listen to your question. Please.
Please calm down.
How can you shout on me?
Mr. Gupta, please calm down.
How can you shout on me, Chaka?
Please have a glass of water.
If you are calling, no,
I started this debate, Mr. Gupta. I started this debate at 9:01. Mr. Gupta, I started this debate at 9:01. This debate is now at 9:08. You have taken 7.5 minutes. 7.5 minutes and have not answered the question that I started off this debate with.
If they are selling their assets to somebody else, it is a matter which is to be, yes, there can be case. How it is a question of money laundering, you tell me, Mr. Zaka. As a BJP spokesperson, you tell me how it is a question of money laundering.
No, please, don't give me these pot shots. Rohan, I'm not sitting here to listen to your pot shots. Please. If you want to take pot shots, I also know how to take pot shots. I'm not going to stoop to that level. I have given you 8.5 minutes. Rohan, I have given you 8.5 minutes. And you have not answered a very simple question that I asked you. 90 crores were owed by one company. It gets acquired by another company which just pays 50 lakhs. Where is the remaining 89.5 crores? Simple question.
If you have seen our press today, Congress party has paid 90 crore rupees to AJL, out of which 67 crore have been paid for the expenses of the company. It is not for profit company. It is not earning any profit. And if any transaction is done by this company with other company, which is also a group company, I don't think there is any issue. And even if there is an issue, it is a matter of investigation. My question is, how does it become matter of ED and money laundering?
Okay, GVL, I find it amazing why Rohan is going on and on beating around the bush. I asked a simple question. You have a 90 crore company bought by a 50 lakh rupee company. Where is the remaining money? It's a very simple question. I don't know why Rohan has taken 9 minutes and still not answered the question, but GVL Narasimha Rao, please go ahead.
Yeah, Zaka, I think it's Rohan Gupta who's been trying to shout you down and not allow others to speak. This is the position of the Congress party because this is a clear case of fraud. It's a clear case of embezzlement, money laundering, tax evasion. I'll tell you how. What is Young Indian? It's a special purpose vehicle to commit fraud, to acquire all the assets that are owned by the National Herald, the holding company, the AJL. And they do it by Congress party giving Congress party lends 90 crores. It is not the money of Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi. It is not Congress party is not a private limited company by statute. They might run it as a private enterprise, that's a different thing. And how could that loan be acquired by Young India? Clearly a case of fraud. And the company AJL, which owns properties worth thousands of crores, can it not pay back 90 crores if it indeed had taken a loan? This whole thing is a setup. It's a setup. And Young Indian is a special purpose vehicle with 76% shareholding by Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi personally. They have couched it in the form of a Section 25 company so that they don't get caught publicly, but then in this case they have got caught on multiple accounts.
So GVL, what about the question that Congress is asking and also what other parties are saying? Congress is saying that 2015 the ED inquired into this case. They are saying the ED itself filed a closure report in 2015. Why are you reviving this case now? Is this not political vendetta?
No, absolutely. What else do you expect them to say? This is a case that was the tax evasion case. The income tax notice happened and the tribunal verdict came much later. They challenged that because that was also related to the windfall gains made by the Congress leadership in acquiring young Indians. And the Delhi High Court, Supreme Court, they have all refused to intervene. So obviously there was the closure report. The ED must have felt by itself that the closure report lacked merit, and they reopened the case. So they can always go before the court, and why are they scared of appearing before the ED?
No, because their claim is that the process is the punishment. In India, it takes 20 years for courts to settle matters. But anyway, I want to move to the second story, which is the Aam Aadmi Party story. I want to bring in Priyanka Kakkad of the Aam Aadmi Party. Again, what has been put out in the public domain by the Enforcement Directorate is that in 2013-14, when Mr. Satyendra Jain was still a minister, this is what the ED is alleging, that there were at least 4 companies, Prayas Info Solutions, Indometal Impex, JJ Ideal and Akinchin Developers, in which he was a director and later on some of his family members became directors. Together, these companies received 16.39 crore rupees from 56 shell companies based in Kolkata out of one address. Now my question is, the minister is, he is occupying public office at that time. His name is there on the board of directors, and later on some of his family members are there on the board of directors. Why doesn't Mr. Jain come out and clarify and say that I was not part of the board of directors, or I had nothing to do with this company, or that the money that came to this company has nothing to do with me?
Hi, Zakat.
Yeah.
When I was listening to the Congress spokesperson, I wanted to say Ima bounce, but the investigating agencies could have misinterpreted me and could have been at my door too. So I didn't say that. When I was listening to the BJP spokesperson, it seemed like Ted Bundy lecturing on women empowerment. So I don't know how they get the moral authority. Why I say this, I'll come to your question also. Why I say this is because, in the Corruption Perception Index, while we had the Congress rule, we featured at rank 80, which is that we were pretty corrupt. And during the BJP rule, we became even more corrupt and we've fallen to rank 86. That is first. So both of them have no moral authority to question us at least, one. Secondly, when you say about why doesn't Satyendra Jain come out and clarify, these are documents in the public domain, Zaka, where you can go on the MCA website and very clearly see that he is not part of any of those companies. Be that as it may, Zaka, I'll bring another interesting fact which I came across. What had happened in 2018, you will recall, the central government took a lot of credit about the fact that it closed about 3.5 lakh shell companies throughout India. Mm-hmm. How come these shell companies survived then? So Zaka, what I'm trying to say is, what will happen, like I have seen with 34 of our MLAs who were all arrested and ultimately acquitted because they were vendetta politics, you will come to the same conclusion in this case, because I can assure you with utmost certainty, my party has a policy of zero tolerance towards corruption, absolutely zero. And we are the strictest against our own people if there is any anti-corruption.
No, ma'am. So ma'am, the question that's being asked is, just last week you had the Aam Aadmi Party Chief Minister in Punjab sack his health minister because he reportedly got a tip-off about some corruption happening.
Yes.
Here you have a full-fledged ED case. There are documents that are available in the public domain. There is a court order from 2015, and yet Mr. Kejriwal says he has perused the matter, he has perused the documents, and he has come to the conclusion that Mr. Jain is being framed. Why don't you let a court do that?
Yes, go ahead, court can do it, and we know the result already. You will see even in 2000, if my memory serves me right, I think it was 2018, where the CBI, it was 2nd May 2022, where the CBI has filed a closure report against the previous case against Mr. Satyendra Jain ji after 4 years of trying to implicate him but finding zero evidence. The CBI is quite about that. Why we also need to question the role of investigating agencies in the past 4 years, especially since 14 we've seen, that, we recently saw it, let's not go that far, we recently saw it in the Aryan Khan and Priya Chakravarti case. So, and then we have enough court rulings which say that CBI is a caged parrot in so many words without missing words. So there is that mistrust, I would say, towards the agencies.
Yeah.
And I can absolutely, and it is not just in me, it is widespread in today's day.
I'll come back to the political spokespersons in just 1 second. I've got Rashid Kidwai, Abhishek Banerjee and Ashutosh Srivastava also joining us. Rashid Kidwai, I'll come to you first. I want to come back to the Congress story. Again, the question that is being asked is, AJL as a private limited company, what was a political party that the Congress party was? Why was it lending a private limited company money? And two, at the point where there was so much debt and that debt owed had to be repaid, AJL has tens of hundreds of crores worth of property, including in Delhi. Why didn't they just simply liquidate one of those properties and repay the Congress party back? Rashid.
Zaka, first of all, the matter is sub judice, so one should not, comment much of it. But I have known AJL Group. I have worked there also briefly. It was never it was financially very sound. It always struggled. The relationship between the Congress party and AJL has been quite, complex. It was never a direct ownership, though Nehru used to write, and all kind of, Congress people were associated with it. So all these things are there. Second thing is that, assuming that, whatever the allegations are, they're true. Look at that, enforcement director's track record. I'm not just talking about Aryan Khan and others. 14 years, only 15 convictions. There are thousands and thousands of cases are there. First of all, as a citizen of the country, I want to ask you, क्या corruption की गंगा जो है सिर्फ विपक्ष में बहती है? I know the political system is corrupt, but how is it that only people in opposition are being targeted? This is something very bizarre.
No, that efficiency or the ability to manage convictions of the Enforcement Directorate is a valid point. Ashutosh Srivastava, since 2015-16, there have been 693 cases that are being investigated by the Enforcement Directorate, and the conviction rate in these cases is less than 1%. What is the problem here? Is it a question of agencies being used to settle political scores, or is it simply the lack of ability or the lack of capability of these investigating agencies to be able to prove such complex financial crime in a court of law?
See, first of all, so far as this matter is concerned, this actually originated from the Judicial Magistrate Court initially when a petition was filed for thorough investigation in this matter, and the Judicial Magistrate ordered for the investigation and the probe started thereafter. And this order was further challenged before High Court and also before Supreme Court. And Supreme Court did not agree to quash this order passed by the Judicial Magistrate. And it only said that the personal appearance of the accused can be only dispensed with. And this was the order which was passed. Now, thereafter, ED, came into picture. And as per Section 50 of Prevention of Money Laundering Act, Enforcement Directorate has the powers to summon and to do the investigation in any case of money laundering. Now, so far as this matter is concerned, as you said that a loan, which was of 90 crores and the assets were taken by, a particular company, Young India, that was only for 50 lakhs. So now the question arises as to what happened to the remaining 89.5 crores. Maybe it was paid in cash or, what happened to that? And there comes the role of Enforcement
the Congress
Directorate.
Party's argument is, Ashutosh, the Congress Party's argument is, this was not 89.5 crores or 90 crores actually owed in physical debt. It's not like actual cash was owed. This was on the books. So basically they've just changed the calculation in the books.
So, see, if it was there in the books, then why it was, the transaction happened at a very lower cost. See, what I'm saying is, this is what is the part of investigation. If nothing comes out, obviously there will not be any conviction. See, conviction cannot be 100% at all. See, when there is a doubt on any sort of, transaction, then only the ED or any agencies come for investigation. And now, based on the investigation...
Abhishek Banerjee, after which I'll come back to the spokespersons. One second, Rashid, 1 second. Abhishek Banerjee, what the opposition is saying is, look at the people who against whom ED, IT, CBI, etc. are investigating cases. They are all from opposition parties, either from Aam Aadmi Party, Trinamool Congress, Congress Party. What about BJP folks? How come nobody in the BJP ever gets investigated by these agencies? And also people who were in other parties before, the moment they joined the BJP, the investigation flounders. Case in point being the Narada case.
Yeah, so Zaka, I will actually make one basic observation. I mean, the Congress is talking about vendetta. Now, I read in an RTI reply that the rent for 10 Janpath is only rupees 4,610 per month. Now, if the BJP is trying to do vendetta, would it not be easier for them to just increase the rent of that bungalow? But beyond that, I think the Indian Union Congress has an attitude problem because they think that their first family, I mean, Madam Honorable Sonia Gandhi ji and Rahul Gandhi ji, they are above questioning. I mean, as a common citizen, it is very surprising to me that a company with hundreds of crores of assets can be essentially acquired for 50 lakhs. I don't think the average person on the street knows that, such a big political leader, they are directors of corporations and companies. Now, of course, there is the question that the central government is very, very slow in investigating the alleged scams of the Indian Union Congress, and I'm definitely, as a citizen, I'm disappointed in the speed of that.
Okay, I'll come back to the political spokespersons. Rohan Gupta, the Representation of People's Act 1950 does not allow a political party to give a loan, and particularly to a private company, in this case AJL. So how did the Congress party, override that, number one? Number two, wasn't there a conflict of interest with members of the Gandhi family, other Congress members, including Mr. Motilal Vora and Mr. Oscar Fernandez, being directors of Young India, also holding formal positions in the Congress party, and that Young India then goes on to acquire a private limited company which had owed the Congress party money? Isn't there a conflict of interest?
Absolutely not, Zada. And just allow me to complete my answer. Young India is a not-for-profit company which was created under Section 25. AJL, when they didn't have money to repay to Congress party, they gave their shares to Young India. So my question was very simple. When I started my debate, yes, you can investigate in the matter. You can find 10 issues. Okay, this is wrong or right. There is no issue. We told that we will support. But how does it become the question of money laundering? Because you want to put in mind of people that there is something wrong. If you have issues on the way transactions happen and you ask questions, we will answer the question. There is absolutely no doubt on that. But why ED comes in this picture, I still don't understand. If you can ask BJP, you please ask on my behalf. Another question to you. There are clear-cut cases of Narayan Rane. I will give example of the ex-Chhattisgarh CM. I will give example of Yedurappa, where it is a clear-cut cases. There are clear-cut cases of money laundering. Why ED has not even investigated or even initiated the inquiry against them? There are cases where only opposition parties, EDs and all these agencies are missing, where there is a question of, this is a question of acceptability by the people. You cannot misuse these agencies only against opposition parties.
Okay.
Why Maharashtra there are cases against ministers and...
I'll ask that to GVL. But can I simplify the question that I'm trying to ask you, which is, let's say you owe me 100 rupees, Rohan. Okay, you owe me 100 rupees, and I come to you asking for that 100 rupees. You say you don't have that money right now, but you have, let's say, 500 rupees of assets with you. Would your first instinct be to liquidate that asset and repay my money? Or would you sell yourself to a third company which is giving you just 50 rupees and you owe me 100 rupees?
Absolutely not. No, the assets, it is not that. AGL shares has been given to Young India, boss. It is not that 50 lakhs. It is AGL has given the shares. It is my choice whether I want to liquidate my asset or it is my choice that I sell my shares to third company. It is my choice.
Those shares were worth how much?
Given to Young India by AGL.
Those shares were worth how much?
We have given all the documents in our press. You just see how much and if you see AGL, the worth of the assets, as you have rightly told, the worth of the assets is much larger. It is not about the share, it is the valuation of that share. You cannot go on face value. So my question is very simple. Whatever the transaction is, if they are not happy, if you feel that investing agency feels that there is something wrong with the transaction, they can definitely inquire. And my simple question to you again is how it becomes the case of money laundering where there is no money being exchanged.
GVL, no money has been exchanged. These are valuations given on a book of accounts. There's no physical transactions that have happened. So how can you allege money laundering? Only when money changes hands can you allege money laundering.
Rahul, Jata, this is a very strange logic. Then you can say when no cash is exchanged, it cannot be money laundering. I have done transactions in foreign Swiss bank accounts. So it's all on record. So how can it be money laundering? One can argue that silly way also. Money laundering does not mean physical exchange of money or physical laundering of money. Therefore, I think these are silly logic. Obviously, there are courts. Why are they scared of even going for questioning? Other Congress leaders were called and questioned even last week.
Absolutely not.
Why is it not a problem when other leaders are not called? But Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi are beyond reproach. They can make windfall gains. They can commit a massive fraud. Why? First of all, let them answer why is there a need to create another company called Young Indian? If they wanted to revive, AJL could have been revived. Like the way you mentioned, they could have liquidated one asset and still kept AJL alive. AJL was not a private limited company, Jaka. You mentioned it 2-3 times. It was a public limited company. And that was their problem. Shifting of shares. So I'm asking, why would AJL, like you asked, why would it sell itself for 50 lakh rupees when it has assets worth, say, tens of thousands of crores? You have therefore laundered the assets of AJL. You have laundered them into Young Indian, which is a privately held Section 25 company. Tomorrow you can sell these assets for a song on paper.
Okay.
You can sell a building for 10 lakhs and then take 10 lakh crores on the side.
Okay, Rohan, quick response,
Who
and then
will
I'll
know?
go back to Priyanka Kakkar. Yeah, Rohan.
And then Aam Aadmi Party is equally, I think they have.
Yeah, we'll come to that. We'll come to that in 1 second, Rohan.
And Kejriwal is scared of taking out Mr. Jain. But Kejriwal will have to go.
Okay, Rohan Gupta.
And this is the problem. The BJP MP is the spokesperson. He doesn't understand the difference between selling of assets and selling of shares. Let me say, I'm challenging you that you tell me that how AGL assets have been transferred to Young India. You give me the example. There is absolutely no transfer of assets. It is only the sale of stakes. There is a difference between transfer of assets and sale of stakes. If you want to say that, let me complete. So why are you, if you have not come prepared for the debate, why are you unnecessarily creating new statements, giving the wrong statement, false statements? You tell me how it is the sale of
Young Indian becomes the new holding company of the national.
No, absolutely. You tell me how it is a sale of assets. How it is sale of assets?
No, it's not a sale of assets.
You told that sale.
Young Indian becomes the new holding company. Yes or no?
You made a statement that assets have been transferred. My question, simple question to you, how the assets are transferred if the stake is sold?
Because the company itself has changed, the ownership has changed.
Absolutely not. No, it is not. When the shares are sold, no, the assets are still with AGL. No assets have been sold. Only the stake has been given. It is still there. But that doesn't mean that it is sale of assets. I think what you need to understand difference between the sale assets and the transfer of stakes. There is a difference. Please go and learn that. So my point is, if ED is appointing you as investigation officer, you please go and ask questions. My question is very simple. It is not the question of money laundering. If any inquiry is to be done, there are many thousands and lakh cases. Why only this case? Because BJP is afraid they need to transfer attention from the current issue. They are afraid that now they will be exposed. There are many cases. Why you tell me?
No, I want to go back. I want to go back to Priyanka Kakkar as well of the Aam Aadmi Party. Again, coming back to Satyendra Jain, you made that argument, Priyanka, that the CBI had inquired into the same case and they had closed, saying that there was no material to probe. But the CBI does not look at money laundering. It's the Enforcement Directorate that looks at money laundering. And the Enforcement Directorate at no point had given a clean chit to Mr. Satyendra Jain and at no point had closed this case. In fact, I want to go back to what the judge had said. This was again a judgment from 2015 where the judge, after having perused the matter, this is what he had to say about some of these shell companies. I'm reading from paragraph 30 of this judgment, where the judge has said there are 8 companies whose shares were purchased by the 2 petitioners whose names have been included in the list. Admittedly, in respect of the shares of ADPL under section 24(4), these have been initiated. The petitioners have themselves enclosed a copy of the order passed in respect of the Benami Dar, which inter alia notes that the cash was routed through accommodation entries in the garb of share capital or premium, in fact belonged to Mr. Satyendra Kumar Jain, and that it was at his direction that the entire transaction was orchestrated. This is from the judgment. This is an order passed by a magistrate.
The case was ultimately dismissed, that is what matters. There are orders after orders which need to carry out different kind of obiter dicta, I would say, on every date. But ultimately the case was dismissed. That's where it stands. One. Secondly, Zaka, I mentioned previously, I will mention it again. The central government took utmost credit and was very, made a huge pomp and show about it, that it has managed to close all the shell companies in India, which were about 4 lakhs. And this happened in 2018. If there were these 56 shell companies, what happened? What stopped them then? One. Secondly, Zaka, I was listening to Mr. GVL also, and my one question to him, very simple question, there were other names that people read out, Narayan Rane, B.S. Yadurappa, everyone knows about them, Mukul Roy, as soon as he came to BJP, charges were let off. What I want to ask is if he's aware, since he's very aware about company shares and directors, is he aware about the fact that Hemant Biswa Sarma, there's a report this morning which has come out, expose rather this morning, which has come out that during the corona period, he actually turned it into Abda Mein Afsar. He started 4 companies through his wife, all of which were new companies, and they bid for the PPE kits, which were an RTI revealed that the bidding was higher than all the other companies that also submitted for the same project. 4 companies of Hemant Biswa Sarma held through either his wife or relatives got these projects, which were new companies, over the rates, and then one of the companies did not even provide the PPE kits, and the contribution by them was shown as CSR. So I'm sure Mr. GVL I will appreciate this, that I will have more trust in the agencies, I will have more trust in the moral authority that both these parties exhibit if they started from their own home and question their own sitting ministers and question their own
GVL to respond, this is in addition to the examples that Rohan also cited, whether it's Narayan Rane or the cases in Bengal, the Narada cases in Bengal, yeah.
No, Zaka, I think this is a classic way of evading or avoiding answering questions. Okay, so today why doesn't Congress, I will answer the question that has been posed to me, but why doesn't, is Arvind Kejriwal scared of sacking Satyendra Jain because he's also, he and his party are beneficiaries of that money laundering? Is it, no, why?
Ma'am, once again, you ask him a question, let him answer, please, ma'am.
No, if Kejriwal is so, if he says I'm going to be acting against corruption, why is he scared of acting against Jain? He could have easily said, okay, I will at least sack him today. Tomorrow, if he is relieved, I will bring him back. No, because he's scared of taking action against Satyendra Jain because his party funding came through this Hawala route. People know this Calcutta is a place where a lot of these cell companies existed. And the transactions happened in 2013 and 14. And the shell companies that got closed, that was much later, in 2017 or 18. So Aam Aadmi Party cannot get away. Aam Aadmi Party cannot get away. No, you cannot get away by simply posing questions to us. I'm saying if there is any fault on the part of the BJP, you are free.
Okay, let me pull away for a second from the political spokespersons. Going back to Rashid Kidwai. Rashid, there in the case of the AJL Young India case, there were allegations made by other shareholders and pretty reputed names. There was the former Law Minister Shanti Bhushan, there was Markandeya Katju, the former Supreme Court judge, who all alleged that they were not served notice or intimated when Young India took over and AJL shares were transferred to Young India, and the shares that were held by them or their family members was transferred to Young India without their knowledge or consent.
Zaka, fair enough. These are the allegations. We should wait for it. Unlike Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao, he seems to be so convinced about the wrongdoing. What are the courts for? What is the investigation for? Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao wrote a book saying that there is a, EVM is a fraud. So I am saying then he had a rethink. He has a right to, rethink. What I'm saying is we have seen, you cannot just say the minister resigns or someone in public life, should fade away just because the allegation has come. Look what happened to Shah Rukh Khan and what happened to, Sameer Wankhede. An officer was transferred merely from Mumbai to Chennai. And what happened to Shah Rukh Khan and his son? Who will account for that? So I am saying, when in people who have deep roots in society, we should be careful. There should be a watertight case.
Abhishek, I'll give you the final word. I've got to wrap up in 30 seconds. Those two cases, the Aryan Khan case, and next week it's going to be 2 years since the Sushant Singh Rajput case. Clearly, the investigating agencies, after so much hullabaloo, have nothing to show for.
Yes, I mean, and in this particular case, I would say there are two separate issues. The BJP versus AAP thing, the Satyendra Jain case, that is, maybe it is political jousting between BJP and Aam Aadmi Party. I don't care. They arrested their spokesperson coming from Punjab. These people are going after their minister. That is not important. But the National Herald case, I care much more about because that is part of our national heritage. It is related to our freedom struggle and it is not part of the private legacy of any political party or any political family. So I am much more concerned the National Herald case must be investigated because it is very serious and it's part of our common heritage.
All right, I'll leave it at that. We'll see how this story progresses further, the various strands of corruption.